Good morning and welcome. Petro Radio News Hour. Joe and Jason wrapping up the week. Happy Friday to everybody. Yeah, we made it to another week. Another crazy week. A big week for gold. Big week for silver. Stocks. You know, everybody's getting ready. De-dollarizing. Rate cuts. And did you see the debt numbers for August? We're shattering all the records. It's crazy. It really is. I've never, you know, and again, though, when you don't follow your own economic principles, this is what happens. Right? This is what happens. Boom and bust. The biggest bust cycle of all time is getting ready. I hope you're getting ready because you don't have much time left. Matter of fact, I would say this. You're already out of time. So don't be, what did I say yesterday? Be proactive. Don't be reactive. 800-951-0592. That is our toll-free number. What do? Come on. The physical delivery of wealth insurance, gold and silver. And we do it better than anybody. I'm going to remind you over and over and over again. Don't even waste your time. Call in these guys that have the big name sponsors. They're on TV, the Fox guys, stay away. And it just kills me when you see what happens, whether one of two things ends up happening. The company goes out of business, right? And you find out, oh crap, I don't really have any, I lost all my money. Or they hit you with a 40% commission, 35% commission, ridiculous things. Stick with us. We do. You want to roll over an IRA, a 401k, a precious metals IRA. We do that for you. Matter of fact, we have a person, Arlene, who's been with me for years and years and years. She handles all of our IRA business. She's an expert at it. She knows what she's doing. It's simple. We run with single-digit markups. One of the things I want to warn again. If you're doing an IRA or an old 401k, you're setting up a precious metals IRA. Let's just make it simple. Never, ever, 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 ever do you send your money to the gold company. See, there's laws, there's rules. You always send it. So in our case, we use company Gold Star Trust. Why do we use them? Simple. They just charge the least amount of fees. That's it. That's it. It's the only reason. But they are going to be the administrator of your money. Why do you do it that way? Because a lot of these gold companies, here's what they like to do. They want you to send them the money. They'll set up the account with some company, quote unquote, on your behalf. And then they get to charge you fees. They get to rip you off. No, it's not how it works. Just keep that in mind. Why am I stressing it? Because it's going to become a big deal again. Right? It's going to be a really big deal here. And I know, Wall Street's hanging in there today. But when it starts going, people are going to be looking for it. Call us. That's all I'm going to say to you. Here's two things that are going to happen when you call Patriot versus anybody else. Number one, we don't go out of business. We've been here almost 30 years. Number two, you don't get ripped off. Number three, we do exactly what we say we're going to do, right? We pay the Better Business Bureau fee and all that stuff. I don't even know why we do, but we do have forever. Here's the amount of complaints that we have. 0. How many complaints have we had in the almost 30 years that we've been in business? 0. Never. Why? Well, because We don't rip people off. It's as simple as I can say it. 800-951-0592. And Jason, we've got record high gold prices once again today, closing in on 2,600. Matter of fact, I call it TV gold right now. So on TV, when you're watching the stock channels, they always show the most actively traded contracts. So right now in gold, that's the December contract. Well, guess what? It's $2,600. And I don't think that anybody should be surprised as we've been talking about where gold is going to be heading, Jason. But news yesterday, here's what's so funny. The Treasury didn't want the markets to be open when they announced the deficit situation for the month of August. They actually delayed it. So it was supposed to come out at 2 p.m. Eastern time. We got to wait all the way. We don't want people to know. It was off the charts, ridiculous. The August deficit, it's 1 month, $380 billion was the deficit for the federal government. By the way, that's up 50% from July, right? How many times have I tell them, Jason, the illusion's over. We're getting ready to do, the $1 trillion every 100 days. Jason, that's way over $1 trillion every 100 days. $380 billion. By the way, up 66% from last August. What could possibly go wrong? Hey, and guess what, guys? The economy apparently, even with all of that spending, isn't good enough, and we need to cut rates. Yeah, something is very, very broken. Get your stuff together. Give us a call. We'll be right back. We're back here, the Patriot Radio News Hour, Joe and Jason, on this Friday. Our toll-free number again, 800-951-0592. And again, be more diversified. Don't wait. You're already behind here. Quick look in at the markets. The Dow's up 250. Why? Because they're thinking it still may need a 50 basis rate cut next week. And by the way, like I said, this is going to be a multiple rate cut environment. And I think you're going to see dot plot explosion for whatever may be happening out there. The S&P is up 29. The Nasdaq's up 100. The 10-year note, 367 on the 10-year.
I don't even know if you can use the term, Joe, broken record anymore. I don't think a lot of kids even know what a broken record means. The plays and then it skips back and keeps playing the same thing over and over again. But record high gold, Joe, right? Record high gold. How many times in 2024 are we going to keep saying each day we come in, record high gold, record high gold, record high gold, and today is no exception. The last number I'm seeing, it's moving around a little bit, $2,575 to the ounce. I don't know how it'll finish today, but it's not very likely to drop the gains that it's made today. So we will probably be closing out this week with record high gold. Joe, are you there? Can you hear me?
Yeah, can you hear me?
You're good. Go for it.
Okay, I apologize. Hopefully on Monday we won't be having these issues anymore. But in any event, so we got gold at a record high. We've got stocks near all-time record highs. The 10-year note, we had another 4 auction yesterday with the 30-year bonds driving those yields back up. The yields got all the way back up to 3.7. They're back down, at 3.67 right now. But again, I expect there to be whether it's 25. I still say it's 25 basis points. It could be 50, but it's going to be. There are going to be rate cuts well into 2025. Get ready. It's not going to be enough. Gold's going to soar, and then when the pain comes, when the bubble bursts, you have to be ready. That's why we keep talking about, why refi, right? This stuff gets collateralized. What does that mean? Well, that means money's not sitting in bank accounts. It's not sitting in money market accounts. It's securitized. And the best thing is it doesn't care about Wall Street, doesn't care about rate cuts, doesn't care about stupid economic policies. Heck, it doesn't even care about $380 billion in a single month. That's incredible. How can that be possible?
Joe, I told you last year that it's possible that we could have $4 trillion added to the national debt in this calendar year. Now, it starts off slow, but if it goes and starts building, you could have – what if we hit 380 for the next few months? We would get to that $4 trillion. Now, I don't think we're going to hit it. I think you're right. We're not going to hit it. But, man, it could get close, couldn't it?
And it's something where being more diversified, you get up 10.25% fixed rate of return. You can use it as income. I mean, that's pretty sweet, right? You can turn it on, you turn it off. They don't play any games. They don't tax your principal if you need your money back. Just check them out. You got to have at least $50K. That's the minimum. That's not them. That's the SEC, right? That's not. They're trying to get that way, but the SEC just won't move on it. But neither here nor there. Check them out. InvestYRefi.com.
And Joe, let me just say this: I was a process server before I went full on gold and silver and the radio station, and I understand how this works. I've had several customers. I have a lot of customers actually, while they're coming in and buying their gold and silver, asking me about why refi. It is an investment, and with investment there's risk, but this is a very low risk investment, and it's a real high yield. I mean, 10%, Joe. By simply leaving your money in 5 years?
When I met with Lane, we sat down, we had lunch together, and I'm like, okay, come on, man. You can't. How can you do that? How can you offer that type of return? What's the scam here? Explain it to me. I'm just going to tell you this. When you call, ask them. You'll be like, oh, my God. That makes total sense. I'll just give you the long and the short of it for you. Here's how.
And Joe, real quick, when you told me about this, because I was a process server, I was like, okay, I know exactly where that money's coming from. I knew exactly before you even told the story.
Right. So there's federal student loans and there's private student loans. Everyone knows this. I think everyone knows this. Well, this is the private stuff. So this is the banks. After the government gives you the $5,000, all these things, it's so ridiculous. Hey, I'm 18 years old. I'm going to get my parents to co-sign or grandma and grandpa to co-sign, what have you, and I'm going to go to school for 4 to 5 years, and I'm going to have $50,000 of private student loan debt. Well, guess what? The day you graduated, your first payment's due in 30 days. But I haven't even gotten a job yet. Or, you know what? I don't have I got a job, but it didn't pay that good, and I don't have any money to make a payment. 90 days later, you're in default. Your credit's ruined. Your parents, your grandparents' credits are ruined. It's that the banks just write it off, and you get sent to collections. You can never get rid of it. Well, guess what? Most of those people, not all, but most, they end up a year down the line choosing, hey, I got a good job now. Hey, I can make a payment if it's reasonable, right? And by the way, that $50,000 is now $150,000. Well, why refi has to get? And by the way, there's like 5 companies. All the banks use the same 4 or 5 companies for student loan debt. And here you go. Here you go. Right? You can't write it off in bank. You can't do any of that stuff. If you meet the criteria with Y Refi, and they don't play. I don't want to say it all here on the radio. They don't play games. You call them if you're in default with a private student loan. They call Y Refi. They've got a bunch of rules. Here's what you've got to do. And if you can do this, Y Refi will buy the debt from the collection agency for pennies on the dollar. So imagine you got a $100,000 loan that you now owe $100,000 on. Y Refi pays them $20,000, $30,000. Here's the best part. They immediately tell the credit agencies, "Hey, you're back in good graces. You made because they make you pay for 6 months and put it in what do you call it? An escrow account, right?
Yeah, escrow.
Boom. And then all of a sudden your credit score jumps up, your families get brought back together. I mean, it's incredible. The average person that Y Refi helps, they have their entire student loan debt paid off in 8 years. It's incredible. I'm just telling you, check them out.
And Joe, I've watched these negotiations. As a process server, you go to court regularly. I've watched these negotiations. Well, what happens when you can't pay your school loans is you get summoned to court. And when you come to court, the first thing, you don't see a judge. You don't go in the courtroom. They put you in a little room with the lender.
Yep.
And the representative of the lender is like, okay, what's the new deal? How are we going to get this thing going? And then they put you usually on some long thing with higher interest and more penalties, and we're going to add all the court costs on top of whatever you messed up on. And then some people come in and they negotiate. They negotiate, hey, I don't want to deal with this anymore, and I got rich uncle, he's going to pay this thing off, but we know we can negotiate this. I've already paid so much money on this thing. We know how much you've collected. How about we give you 50% or give you 75%, whatever, and then you negotiate the loan right out. This is what Y Refi is basically the guy negotiating your loan. And there's a lot of margin there, and this is why they can pay themselves. This is why they can pay you, the investor. And I don't know, Joe, on the borrower side, the college loan. Do they cut them a break? Is that a part of this?
Oh
too?
yeah. Listen, they set up a term. They charge them like 3.5% interest. It's so minute. They're actually, and that's the thing. It's so funny. The banks are such jerks. Right? If they would just work with these kids and work with these people, but they don't. They don't. They're not interested in that. But anyway, we've taken up enough time with it. Call these guys, 888-Y-REFI-24, and they can walk you through it. So here we are. Gold's up almost $20 now, almost $25.80. Silver, holy smokes! Silver's up $2 in the last 24 hours. 30.65 right now on silver. As when we looking at government debt, August, a record for government spending in the month of August, $686 billion was the outlay from the federal government. And Jason, the only thing keeping this deficit from being even worse is we had a great stock market this year. Thankfully. Because let's just say the stocks would have been flat. Right? Let's just say the Dow, instead of 40,000, was 33,000, 34,000. You'd probably have to add another $400 to $500 billion onto the deficit, right? It's already going to be another $2 trillion plus. By the way, it's official now. The government's going to spend over $1 trillion in interest payments on the debt for the first time ever. And next year, this is the fear that I have, because we're not going to get, I don't think, $50,000 out next year, right? That's not the most likely scenario. Now, we could, if inflation goes back to 10%, I guess we could, right? I mean, you never know. But without that, it really is hard to figure how all of this is going to work on an annualized level right now. the interest payments on the debt. You got to remember, the interest payments on the debt last September were a lot less than they were in August, and they keep rising. We're already up to almost $1.2 trillion. Remember what Bank of America said? By the end of summer next year, the annualized interest payments are going to be $1.6 trillion, and they were talking about, hey, that's even with Fed rate cuts. Jason, the amount of debt, it's enormous, and we were talking about, if they did this every month, and of course they're not going to do that every month because you got April taxes, that'd be $4.5 trillion.
Yeah.
Right. So when we sit here and I'm talking about, hey, $3 trillion is a very likely potential for the federal deficit next year. You can see where I'm getting that. It's not that big of a stretch. Patriot News Hour. We'll be back after the break. 800-951-0592. Joe and Jason, Patriot News Hour here on this Friday. Gold and silver both breaking out to the upside. We've got continuation here, $2,600 in the front month contract here. It's not stopping. This is early. It's hard to believe, but it's early here. One of my favorite, when I first started, there's a guy, and some of you may know this guy, some of you may not. Nassim Taleb, as I like to call him. He wrote a book. This guy is a mathematical genius guy, and very, very smart. And he wrote a book called The Black Swan, right? And that's kind of how they characterized the financial crisis. Oh, it's a black swan event, the event that no one saw coming. Of course, now everybody sees it coming, right? And we have figured it out. But he is very, very, very smart. He's on TV, he'll come on the stock channels. They don't like having him on too much because he kind of tells everybody, hey, listen, you're playing a fool's game. But he was out on X the other day and trying to get people that you're not really seeing it. We talk about, Jason and I, we talk about de-dollarization. We talk about BRICS. And listen, we don't even think BRICS is no different than what we've got going on, right? It's still central banking. But it's de-dollarizing. This is what is happening. And you have to understand, how does our market work? It's kind of like a Ponzi scheme, right? Because, hey, it needs more debt to keep going. And when you don't have the ability to sell more debt, then you run into problems. See, like Bernie Madoff ran a great scam. At one time, they put Bernie Madoff in charge of the NASDAQ. True story. He was, oh my God, what a great investor. Right? 8% returns every year. It's incredible. Come to find out, he wasn't even making any trades. All he was banking on was, hey, as long as I got more money coming in than I got going out, it's all good.
He's really a banker, really. He's really a banker.
Right? Until the financial crisis hit, then everybody wanted their money. And nobody wanted to put anybody in. And then all of a sudden, oh, my gosh.
What was Bernie Madoff's problem? He doesn't have the power to print the money.
Correct. Now, fast forward to where we are. $380 billion in a month. $35.4 trillion on the way. By the way, by the end of the year, $37 trillion. Let's not forget, the Fed made up $7 trillion. That's on their balance sheet, right? So, but what Taleb was talking about is, with this de-dollarization, And it doesn't matter if it's right, wrong, or indifferent. If bricks is the next greatest thing since sliced bread or not, it doesn't matter. Because the one thing that they're doing is like, hey, we're not going to use dollars. That's it. That's essentially what the game is. What is BRICS? Well, really simply, we want to be central banking, but we want to do it without dollars.
Yeah. Joe, you know what's such a scam about the whole thing, and I don't have the exact numbers. I don't know what percent of the BRICS central banks are going to be owned by the same guys, but it is known, okay, we have an American central bank. It's called the Fed. 52% of it is owned by the Rothschild banking cartel. That's the way it's been since 1913. They've owned the majority share. They're not even Americans of this central bank. So if your Ponzi scheme, your Madoff Ponzi, because they are Madoff, but they get to print the money. So if you want to create a situation where it doesn't go back to you, then you create this enemy central bank. We'll call it the BRICS, the Russian central bank, the Chinese. Why do I get the feeling that the Rothschilds owns 52% of the Chinese central bank? This is why I say it's the same guys. So if they don't want you, the average guy, to find out who the crooks are, they just make you think it's a country or it's a different central bank. No, the BRICS is going to be the same guys. And Joe, things are failing, so give them a bad guy. They're going to win anyways because they're on both sides, right, Joe? They always, just like on every war, they buy both sides. They buy both sides when it comes to economic competition. And in this case, being the BRICS, if that's where they want to go, Joe, that's where it's going to go, just like you said.
Right, so here's Talon. Instead of buying U.S. debt, countries are buying gold. We know this, right? They're actually saying we don't even believe in this system and buying gold. Instead of buying U.S. debt to buy commodities, to buy oil, to buy wheat, to buy natural gas, to buy whatever it is that their country, rice and whatever else they need, they're using their own currencies, which means they don't have to buy U.S. debt anymore. And this is what he is talking about. He goes, this is a classic setup. Look at gold. We're going to see gold up 30% or more from here. Talking about the World Gold Council survey. Remember, we covered this like 6 weeks ago. 29% of the central banks of the world said they're going to increase their gold holdings in the next 12 months. In addition to that, 62% said that their share of dollars in reserves will be lower. And by the way, they plan on it being lowered every year, and they do 5-year deals for the following 5 years. In addition to that, 70-some% of central banks in the survey said, yes, at some point in the next 5 years, we're probably going to buy gold. This is what we're up against. This is why we're telling you, I think we're going to enter this dark period here. I don't know where the top is, but I think it's soon. But the ability to reinflate is what is going to be the problem this time around. Patriot Radio News Hour. Got a great special for you, as we always do. That's coming up next. (800-951-0592). Patriot Radio News Hour, wrapping up this Friday. Hopefully on Monday my audio will be crisp and clean once again. We're working on some stuff, but I've got a great opportunity today. Here's what's happening. The Fed Whisperer. So the Fed Whisperer is a guy named Nick Timiraos. He is a reporter with the Wall Street Journal. They gave him the moniker the Fed Whisperer because the Fed leaks stuff to him. That's what they do. I mean, it's just that simple. Yesterday, he said there is active debate about next week's meeting. The debate is whether to go 25 or 50, which tells me, wow, there's something big in the mix. I don't think it's going to matter, but if it's 50 come Wednesday, we may have $2,700 gold that week. Because I think that's right now, everyone's anticipating what I'm anticipating, which is 25. And, oh, by the way, a lot more cuts coming. And if they go 50, it's going to be 50 with a lot more cuts coming. The setup, Jason and I kind of talked about it yesterday. There's almost no setup where gold doesn't win. Because they only have one tool. It's money creation, debt. And as Taleb was saying, the world wants less of dollars, not more of dollars. And this is becoming a very, very big problem. Today, listen, don't wait. I don't want you to pay more. I want you to pay less, get more gold for less. Do not wait here. $20 gold, doing the best we can here. Pre-1933 private gold, 1 through 9, $27.75. We got gold at, what, $2,500 and $80. It's been as high as $24.85. Right. I mean, look at it right now. It's up $20 right now. If you buy 10 or more, trying to help people out here, $27.50. $27.50. If we get a 50 basis point rate cut, which apparently, according to the Fed Whisperer, that's the debate. That is the debate that's going on at the Fed right now. That could be the price next week. Honestly, that could be the spot price next week. 800-951-0592. Take the time. Keep adding to your positions here. We're in this. Listen, I don't even think I'll start talking about gold being overextended until maybe 4,000. You know, that's kind of what I'm looking at. 4,700, 4,800, something like that, just based on what we've seen when gold makes these breakout moves. But think about this. This is how brilliantly bad things are. And I'm going to say this right now. I'm going to give Whole Foods, whoever did this at Whole Foods, you're a genius. See, they figured out, gosh, you know, people don't like it when they drop $150 and they've got a bag and it's not even half full. They don't like it. So Whole Foods, they're genius. Guess what they did? They went to their bag supplier and said, hey, can you make us smaller bags? The supplier's like, what? Yeah, no, smaller. Yeah, you know, that way, when people go and they buy their groceries, they'll feel like they got a lot more groceries, and they won't be mad, right? They can drop $100, and the bag will, at least one bag will be, because it's Whole Foods, so at least one bag will be full. Yes, Jason, this is what is happening out there, right? Hey, that's brilliant. Right, we're going to use it's like shrinkflation in reverse. The cereal got smaller, the price went up, but no, let's just make the bag smaller.
Yeah, it is shrinkflation. It's shrinkflation. Right. Everything's getting smaller, but the price stays the same. That's how you get the inflation to look like it's not inflation. It's shrinkflation. Yeah, I've seen it mostly in the actual Well, cereal's the best. Isn't the cereal the best one?
Yeah, cereal's probably the best. Yeah.
The box stays the same.
The family-size box used to be like the small box with like from 20 years ago, right? Now the family-size box, you get like 4 bowls.
But now, Joe, the box is the same size. And then look at the bottom where it says how many ounces, and that it's funny how it's a tenth. It's the tenth of an ounce shrinkflation. It's 16.9 ounces for the box, then it's 16.1 ounces, then it's 15.7 ounces, right? And then who's going to remember that odd number as a shrinkflation? That same size box that sits in your cabinet, the same place all the time, Joe.
I've got bad news on inflation going away. American Airlines flight attendants. They approved a contract, immediate 20% raises. Yesterday, Boeing, their 33,000 workers, rejected the offer from Boeing. It was like 96%. Why even put an offer out there when that's that bad? They said, nope, we want more money. GameStop, the latest now, they are closing. They haven't said how many, but they said hundreds and hundreds of GameStop stores are going to go away. And then at the ports, we may have another port strike as the longshoremen, beginning October 1st at 13 of the major East Coast ports, they may walk off the job. Yeah, I don't think inflation's going to go away, but get those 20s. Buy everyone you possibly can. $27.75, 10 or more, $27.50 at 800-951-0592. Final segment. Did the Saudis buy gold? We'll talk about that next. 800-951-0592. Patriot Radio News Hour. Joe and Jason wrapping up the week. Right now, gold's now up 22. Gold may be 2,600 today. I don't know that, but right now, 25.81. TV gold 26.06 right now. Silver, man, it just doesn't stop. Silver maybe $31 before the end of the day, up another 89 cents. Yesterday's up $1.20, 30.75. But news breaking here. I told you that China wasn't the only country trying to secretly buy gold. Silver Academy out today. Apparently, Saudi Arabia in August, well, that was just last month, secretly purchased, are you ready for this, 160 tons of gold, and they did it through Switzerland because they didn't want it in the market. They didn't go to the London Exchange. They didn't go to the COMEX. They did it through Switzerland, again, according to the people that track the data. The Saudi Arabian Monetary Authority secretly purchased 160 tons of gold from Switzerland. This puts Saudi Arabia now kind of in the top 20 of gold purchases. That was almost a 50% increase in their gold holdings in a single month, bringing their total to 483 metric tons. But, Jason, this is the de-dollarization that we keep talking about, and this is big. That's a big purchase in a single month. This is something, like the Chinese, they like to announce and spread it out. Hey, we bought 20 tons this month and 20 tons the next. No, Saudi Arabia jumped in. Of course, remember, we got to have a little price fall there, didn't we? Remember in August? Right, gold kind of broke down a little bit for a minute, and we were stuck in that range of 24.70 to 25.30. Well, guess what? Guess who was buying at 24.70? Apparently, the Saudis. Jason, we keep telling people this is a sign, this is a warning. You need to be doing this. How you know what I'm sitting here? I'm looking at the phone lines. They're empty. I can't understand it. You need to get people just. You're gonna figure it out. You're gonna figure it out. $20 goal.
You got to get yourself
10 or more. $27.50.
You got to get yourself out of the mind control of the most successful religion in human history, which is the Federal Reserve Note. More people on Earth use the Federal Reserve Note than any religion practiced in human history, and it's making you poor. These dollars. It's not that gold is more expensive. Gold hasn't done anything. The ounce of gold and the horse for all the years of America's history is about the same price. You just need more dollars. So when you out there are like, oh my gosh, gold is so expensive, it's $2,700. It's how many ounces do you have? Because that ounce is going to be more dollars and more dollars and more dollars and more dollars. Joe's been on the air long enough that he can remember only $250 to $300 for that ounce. But it's still just an ounce, isn't it, Joe? What happened to your dollars?
I'm going to tell you right now. You have to get ready. Wait, do you think, we call this the year of chaos? I'm afraid of what 2025 is going to be. Seriously. 800-951-0592. Keep adding here. Jason and I, we're going to come back.